Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole giving you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you are watching this live. I hope everyone is doing well. Hello, hello, hello. And we are about to get into it with Power Raising Kanan. This is season 3, episode 7. If I had to rank this episode, I would have to give it a C plus, and I'll explain why. But let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 3, Episode 7, Where All Are Guilty. All right. Hey, Teef. Hey, brother. All right. So we start off, and some of these things I actually did predict. I did predict the last video. So we start off with Paul, and I'm gonna call him Pissy Paul, okay? We start off with him listening to Arrested Development, which took me back. And next thing you know, of course, because he said that he was gonna snitch, Ronnie and two of his boys that come out of nowhere literally come in and scare the shit out of him and bring him to Kanan's apartment. But did y'all notice that crazy Ronnie, when he busts into Paul's apartment, he ends up before he leaves making sure that he puts the jackets back on Paul's hangers on his wall before he leaves. When I tell you, whoever the actor is for Ronnie, I know it can't be in the script. I just think that he truly brings it to like another level with his acting skills. Because there is no way in hell someone probably put in the script that put the jackets back on the hanger. I thought that was classic. I was laughing, but at the same time, terrified at the same time. Yeah, he's the South Jamaica boogeyman. So at that point, with that, in the process, of course, famous of all people, always at the wrong place at the wrong time. Literally, famous goes back to the apartment to get the rest of his things, and he sees Pissy Paul, Ronnie, and Kanan. All right. And so Pissy Paul walks out because he has peed on himself. All right. And so at that point, when famous is talking, of course, Kanan, which this is one of the reasons why I have it now as a C plus. Like, Kanan now is the villain. I don't like him. And I don't like a lot of the characters now at this point in this season. I don't know about y'all, and y'all can let me know in the comment section, but I am not feeling Kanan at all whatsoever. He's just a straight up asshole and for no reason. So when Famous is in there, he's like, look, I'm trying to get my stuff. And so at that point, Kanan's like, when you can get your stuff, but when I get back, you better be gone. Next thing you know, we see Famous still packing up his stuff. He got the steel that he was hiding. And now the fact that they want to focus on that hammer, that steel, something tells me it's going to play into something later on. I'm assuming that's the same one he used to off that guy. But with that, Ronnie and Kanan walk back into the apartment. And so Ronnie's like, well, why are you leaving? He was like, oh, well, I'm going to, stay with my mom. And Roddy was like, why would you go to your mom's? And he said, well, my mom's he misses me. She misses me. And he's like, what's so special about you? And Famous is like, excuse me? He said, what's so special about you where your mom misses you? And he's like, because I'm her son. And he was like, I'm my mom's son and she don't miss me. And I'm thinking like, maybe because you're psycho and you scare the hell out of her. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason why, which interesting enough, the fact that he said his mom doesn't miss him, is the mom supposed to be still alive? Because then that adds an extra element to Neek being gone. And if the mom is alive, why isn't the mom popping up wondering where her child is? Because he didn't say, like she's gone. He was like, well, my mom, you know what I'm saying? Like she don't miss me. So with that, at that point, Ronnie says, I hear you talk a lot. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And he gets really close on Famous, and Famous is shaking like a stripper. And at this point, we see Kanan close up, and it's almost kind of like he's kind of regretting or feeling a little bad and showing that he has some type of heart and feels bad about, how Famous is being treated. But then, of course, he resorts to, he keeps most stuff close, but, I'll off him myself if he doesn't. And I'm just like, you know what, Kanan, like, you were so likable at one point, but I'm over it. Let me see what you say. You said, is it me? Hold on. You said, is it me, or did they still not explain how Ronnie was released early? I think they said on a technicality of a crooked cop. I think that was mentioned. I think that was mentioned, that they said it was on a technicality because there was a crooked cop involved, so they let him go early. So I think that's what they said. The very first episode, Unique said he was going to be in upstate prison his whole life. Yeah, but I think he said on a technicality. I think somebody mentioned, I think if I'm not mistaken, that's when Neek, when he was ringing on his doorbell late at night, and he was like, you got out by a miracle on a technicality because of a crooked cop, and you up here taking people's cars. You remember that? So yeah, so I think that's how he got out. So with that being said, Famous is like terrified, and Kanan, I don't understand it, but I'm not feeling Kanan right now. But moving on. So at this point, Rock meets with the Connect, and with at the takeout spots, pretty much the guy who was the main guy who had the I don't want to say, I guess, the powder. It's not really powder, y'all know, the H. And pretty much she meets with him, and he's like, yeah, thank you, but no thank you. But of course, Slick Rock, she finds her way in, and at that point he was like, all right, I'll give you a trial run. So then Howard is talking to the feds again, and he's talking about Marvin, right? And to me, the way he's talking about Marvin like, yeah, he is a potential suspect. He's even connecting the dots between the Italians and Marvin, and how he could be a player when it comes to the Italians. And I was like, hold the hell up. I was like, why are you going this far? Like, what's going on here? So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Then the next thing you know, we see Scrappy's snitching ass mama coming into the police station. And at that point, Howard slithers his way into the room with her, and she tells him that Lou Thomas told her Scrap was offed, but not by his own hands. So at that point, I was like, here we go. But what did I say in my last video? She was the one who was the snitch. So you think she wasn't about to snitch on this situation? She absolutely was. So next we have Marvin, and he goes to Gerald's house, and he sees Gerald's girls outside in the car in the cold. And while, Gerald is pretty much in the house, touching the sky, okay? And you even see when he finally opens up the doors and let the girls in, you see the train tracks on his arm. So at this point, and first of all, I was like, okay, if he's doing that, if that's his preference, I'm shocked he was even able to get up. So at that point, Marvin becomes daddy for these girls, cooking for him and everything else. And I'm just like, Marvin, you should know rule number one: you can't trust someone who's using. And I don't know if it's because Marvin used to use, but isn't there a way to still have a heart but still be smart, considering the fact that you are one of the top guys in Queens? Like, it's just not adding up. And it's like, I either don't like people because they're just going too far with how they're bullying and their attitudes, or these rookie mistakes, in my opinion, that Marvin is making, and he's not even under the influence. I can see if Lou being the alcoholic, the drunk that he is, totally get it, because he's blacking out. He don't remember half of the stuff probably that's going on. But when it comes to Marvin, I'm like, you can have a heart, but you can still keep your distance. Like, you can't be that crazy to trust this man. But he is. He keeps telling him while he eating his funky cornflakes that, look, Gerald, you got me. I'm going to help you through this. You don't have no family. Your family don't want to deal with you no more because you're stealing stuff left and right, but I'll be there for you. And I'm like, okay, Marvin, all right, we going to see where this is going to go. So I personally feel Marvin is going to be the one who's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. I think he's going to be a lifer, but that's just personally my opinion, just the way that things are going. So Famous is at home with his mom, and this was a very tender moment, because he hadn't seen his mom in a while. His mom was saying, look, she didn't know what to do. She missed him or whatever, and he's kind of confessing without confessing. I have a feeling this is probably going to be one of the last times we're going to see, him in this vulnerable moment. Something is going to go down with Famous this season, whether it's in the hands of Ronnie, Rock, somebody is about to handle him this season for sure. So I would be very shocked if he goes into season 4. Like, I really would be shocked. So, he's at home. He's happy to be at home. We'll see how long this lasts. So at that point, Howard meets up with Rock, and he's pissed, and he's like, yo, stupid little brother Lou was talking to Scrappy's mama, and Rock actually looked shook. I think at that point, she's like, damn, like, my brother really sold me out. And I'm like, what do you expect? But then again, she's like, look, at the end of the day, I can handle my brother. You don't worry about me. The reason why you only care is because you feel like it's going to lead to you. But a lot of things are about to lead to Howard, and I will explain that later. So at that point, she's like, so what's up with the task force? What's up with the feds? And he doesn't mention that they were talking about Marvin. If y'all noticed that, he said there were no leads. You see that? See, Howard is another one I don't like. See, while he's to a certain extent doing all of this to protect Kanan, because it damn sure isn't about Rock. He's trying to protect himself, and he's trying to protect Kanan. I think he is using Marvin as collateral. So if anything, if the heat comes on him, he can use Marvin as collateral and put him out there to show that he's still doing his job as a cop. To a certain extent, I feel like that's what I'm feeling with him, because the fact that he didn't tell Rock what was going on, he's trying to keep that for himself, just in case. So I feel like Howard is going to possibly play a part in Marvin getting that life sentence. But that's what I'm feeling right now. But yeah, he did not tell Rock at all whatsoever that there was a lead. So yeah, he definitely is being slick. Let me see what you're saying. I love Howard. I think he's gonna end up being the big bad of the final season. You think so? I don't know right now where this is gonna go, but I do know the heat is gonna be on him. The heat is definitely going to be on him for a variety of reasons, and we'll talk about that towards the end. So at that point, Juke meets up with the military again, and I guess the recruiter. And so she's at this point really like whatever at this point. Like, y'all say y'all was gonna give me a good job, do whatever. And I think the reason why she's doing that is because she feels like now she has purpose to stay in Queens, to stay in New York because of the music group. But we all know that's going to eventually go downhill thanks to Kanan. But anywho, what's up, Ruby girl? So meanwhile, Rock tells Marvin, you better get your little brother, because at this point, he got to make this right, because if he don't, in other words, what she was pretty much trying to imply is if he does not, I will be the female Ronnie and take care of him my damn self, because I don't put it past Rock to do a Ronnie. She may not sit up there and do it as violent as Ronnie did, but I don't put it past Rock. Rock already said in the first season she gonna be the last one surviving, and I truly, truly believe she means that, every single word of it. Let me see. What's up, Ruby girl? if Howard gets that promotion and moves up, he'll have more authority. He already thinks he runs. Exactly. But he's using, what's the best way for a crooked bad cop to be able to get people off of them? Is to be able to solve a case. And if he solves a case, he'll get people off his back. I think Marvin's going to be that case. I think Marvin is going to be that case. He's going to use that as collateral to be able to get people off his back. Yes, rock-a-bye, baby. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah. So, at that point, when she tells Marvin that, they go into the takeout spot and they actually speak to the head honcho, which is the uncle who owns about 20 other takeout restaurants between Queens and Brooklyn. And Rock talks about expanding the business, which is actually very, very smart. However, I wouldn't trust that damn uncle. Talking about some they will share in success and failure. That's a damn lie, especially after we see when she goes to the little restaurant, I guess, place where you can buy certain things for restaurants. When that guy sat up there and pretty much said, we only supply Chinese restaurants, in other words, only Chinese people. I'm like, he ain't about to share in no type of failure. He's gonna sit up there and profit while you take the fall. Trust my word on that. But it's still a very smart move. And I knew at that point when she was casing out every single location, this was going to be literally the most inventive, like it was going to be like a groundbreaking idea for them to really be able to do what they need to do and be under the radar. So you know what that means? Rock, one thing about it, Ronnie did say if Rock is breathing, she hustling. So we had a damn point on that. She could not stay away from the game, and she's really smart at it. And she's about to change the game, and her biggest competition is going to be her own son. So this is going to be a brawl between mother and son. This is definitely what they've been setting up, and we clearly see it at this point. So next we have Aisha. And Aisha is in the bathroom sick, okay? And at first I said, oh, damn, she's preggers. But based on what we saw at the movie theater later on, she said they were moving too fast. So I was like, well, maybe they haven't done anything yet. So I'm like, is she sick? Like, does she, have something? Does she have an internal illness or something like that? I'm kind of curious where they're going to take her story, because immediately I already thought, I was like, okay, she preggers. This is really about to end the group. But at that point, when, you could definitely tell Aisha and, Juke really care about each other. And next thing you know, there go good old evil Raquel casing out stuff. Oh, you think that's what it is? Eating disorder. Maybe, Ruby, you may be onto something. I'm curious to see if there's going to be like more of that. You may be onto something, Ruby. So at that point, literally, they walk in and Kanan is up there flirting with Crystal. Aisha, for some reason, doesn't see it, but you can definitely read through that heifer. And at that point, Aisha and Kanan make their way to the movies. But before they go to the movies, Juke is giving Kanan the business about the people he hanging around. And, the fact that he's hiding stuff or whatever. But, of course, he tries to blow her off and goes with Aisha. But in the process, Juke tells Crystal, Aisha and Kanan are talking. Leave him the F alone. And of course, Crystal with her little smart mouth is like, F you. And I'm like, I don't think you realize who Juke is, because Juke don't have a problem fighting boys or men. So yeah, I have a feeling if something is going to happen to Crystal, it's going to be in the hands of Juke, because she keep coming at Juke, and Juke, when she snaps, as we know, she snaps. So at that point, Marvin goes to see, oh no, let me get to the movie part. The movie part, they kissed it in the movie theater. And again, like I said, every time he was trying to make a move, she was like, you moving too fast. And when he finally did it the second time, she was like, I'm ready to go home. And at that point, this fool This fool, okay? Mine and Kanan is not a looker. All right. But again, because I guess he got money in his pocket, he feel like he could say and do whatever. He like, well, look, I'm staying here. She's like, you not about to take me home? And he was like, you know how to take the train? Are we really supposed to like Kanan at this point? Because I damn sure don't like him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I damn sure don't like him. So at this point, like when she leaves, next we have exactly. I would have too. I would post your stuff, brother, but even the short version can't be posted up here. But I see what you're saying. I thought so too, Ruby, that it was her possibly being preggers, but because of the fact that she said, oh, okay, oh yeah, you got a point. Maybe, but the fact that she did, I was like, oh my gosh, she's preggers. Since they put in her head she's the average girl of the group. Yeah. So I don't know. So we're definitely gonna have to see when it comes to that. We're on episode 7 though, so it's only what 10 episodes every season. We only got 3 episodes left, y'all. So at this point, I'm really trying to figure out how much more we're really gonna see in this season. So after that, child, Marvin goes to Lou and yokes him up about him running his mouth to Scrap's mom. And this drunk fool don't even remember going to Scrap's mom. You know you got to be a straight up drunk and black the hell out when you drive in, go into someone's house, pour out your soul, and you don't remember any of it. That's scary. So he don't remember it, but Marvin's like, you need to clean this up ASAP. Because at this point, the police ain't saying nothing now, but eventually, it's gonna happen. But I think Marvin's gonna get caught up with the police before Lou. But what we're gonna see about that. But moving on. Now, the next scene confused the hell out of me, and y'all need to let me know what y'all think about this, okay? We see Juliana kissing awkward, weird boogeyman Ronnie. And I'm like, since when did she like him and was attracted to him? I'm sorry, but did any of you guys get that vibe from her the 2 or 3 times they had scenes in this show? I didn't get that vibe at all. So the fact that now all of a sudden she kissing all up on him and it was so awkward, because I'm just like, Ronnie is so uncomfortable. He don't like nobody. Hell, he don't even like himself. So I'm just like, why all of a sudden is she kissing on this man? It doesn't add up. And this is what I say sometimes with the writing. Sometimes it's a hit and then it's a miss, because I'm just like, where is this coming from? So she kissing all up on him, and next thing you know, Pernessa walks into the house. And so at that point, she comes in and she's like, I need to get some things for Jerome. And Ronnie is like, get your shit and go. And she was like, wait a minute, this is my house and Nick's house still. And he's like, get your shit and go. And I'm like, girl, at this point, you really do need to get your shit and go. You know at this point what he's done to your man. Stay away from him. So at that point, she goes upstairs and she gets her shit. And Juliana is like, people don't need to see us together, and having enemies is bad. And he was like, man, she ain't about to do nothing. And she was like, Juliana was like, having enemies are dangerous, especially when they're family. And I'm like, another sign that Ronnie, again, being a boogeyman, just another person on his list that he about to get rid of. And so Burke's father is at the precinct and is getting Burke's stuff. And of course, the demon Howard talks to him with a straight face. Like, again, he didn't off his daughter. And then at that point, Howard finds out that he got the job in the other department. But they need to do a background check. They need to do a background check. And I'm like, oh, they got to do a background check, which means they're going to do a background check on what he used to do back in his undercover days, back in the 70s. And I think they're going to find a connection between Rock and the Thomas family with Howard. I think that's how Howard's going to get exposed. And he did look like he was about to be scared with that background. And maybe, just maybe, people are going to find out about who the hell Howard is. So then at that point, Juke ends up going, look at this crazy man. Who in their right mind would want to kiss this man? Just look at him here. Like, he looked like his breath stank. Like, he can't even take his own breath. And you mean to tell me Juliana all of a sudden kissing on this man and he just sitting there, ain't doing nothing? It ain't adding up. It's not adding up. But moving on. So Juke goes to see Kanan and checks him for how he treated Aisha. And of course, Kanan is acting all tough because, of course, Ronnie is there. Ronnie is not letting Kanan out of his sight. And so at that point, Juke is like, look, you could talk to these dudes all you want, but I'm not the one. I used to wipe your snotty nose. And so Kanan still acting like he a tough guy. And Juke gave the lines of all lines and said, you a scared little boy trying to show your mama that you a man. And I said, that's exactly what it is. He pissed off at his mama and he trying to show his mama that he can be the man out there when he's truly a spoiled, entitled little shit, okay? He has been spoiled his whole entire life. Kanan don't know struggle. He don't know struggle. So it's like you truly out here trying to make it seem like you about this life, and we clearly know eventually he will be, but he damn near had a silver spoon in his mouth the way his mama and his people was out here hustling. So at that point, when she leaves, Ronnie is like, I can talk to her. And Kanan is like, you will never talk to her. My family has nothing to do with what me and you do. And I'm like, yeah, you want to bet? Because what you fail to realize, because you're so busy being mad at your mama, what you fail to realize is Ronnie personally wanted to target you to get at your mama. But again, when you mad, it's two things. He's mad at his mom, but at the same time, I understand people when they in the streets, they want to shelter their kids as if they don't want their kids to know what's going on. But the fact that Kanan did know so much, Rock should have prepared him for who her possible enemies are and really had honest conversations with him, because I think because she was trying to always lie and keep stuff away from him, now he doesn't realize what he's up against. But that's just my personal opinion in the situation. So let me see what you guys are saying. How do people get kicked out of their house? Right. And what's the audacity of people who are not on a lease kicking out people? Exactly. That's why I said, I was like, man, Famous. I was like that. I said at least he could try to fight back. He looked like he'll hit the pressure points. You a mess. He wants to show Rock he can be as big. Exactly. And that's just it's not gonna happen. Well, at least right now we don't see it's gonna happen. So next thing you know, Burke's dad and Burke's girl meet up, and he apologizes for how he treated Burke's girl. And he start asking questions. And one of the questions he asks is about Burke's obsession with Howard. And she's like, look, I don't want nothing to do with that. I had already told Burke I want nothing to do with that Howard situation. But trust me, as we know, when it comes to power, when someone brings up something like that, he or she will pursue Howard again. So next we have Ronnie step into Pernessa, and it was the most passive aggressive way to tell her that she need to watch her back. And at this point, the last thing that we see is his face after he's like, oh, so this where your mama live? The person's still out there. We family. I want to make sure you're going to be okay, blah, 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 blah. That facial expression that he gave to me, I think he knows for a fact that Pernessa knows that he did it. So Pernessa's going to be gone soon, and it's a sad situation. But hey, if he was willing to off his brother, he willing to off anyone at this point. So next thing you know, Mama Thomas comes to Lou asking for cash. And in my opinion, this was a redundant scene because we had the same freaking conversation that they had in that garage. And it was no progression in the story. I want cash. I need cash. This ain't enough. Your daddy wasted his life on music. Your daddy wasted his life on trying to pursue his dreams. And then Lou's response is, well, that's not what offed him. That's not what destroyed him. And I'm like, we've already heard this before. Are you going to continue the conversation where maybe the next thing he's going to say is you're the one who destroyed him? Or are we going to really learn what happened to the father? But we shouldn't have two scenes, you know what I'm saying, where we literally hear the same thing from Lou and the mama. There was no growth in there. It was the same thing. Here's the cash. Your father wasted his life on music. It wasn't the music, the end. I personally felt like this scene, it gave nothing. It gave nothing extra towards continuing to progress and to continue this story between Lou and his mama. It did nothing. So I think he is Ruby. I think he has passed, but I feel like we need to get more than music didn't destroy him and him trying to imply to the mom that music didn't destroy him. Then tell us what destroyed him. Tell us what actually happened to him, because at this point we need to know. So at that point, Juke goes to tell Rock about what's going on with Kanan and how he's moving and who he's moving with. And meanwhile, he's going to the trifling heifer Crystal's house, which, will cause more division when it comes to the group. And Juke is really going to blame Kanan for sure, because he's already ruined Aisha to a certain extent. And I'm sure he's going to do even more when it comes to Aisha. But she said, do not mess this up for me, because this is what I'm doing. This is the group that I'm trying to be a part of. And of course, Kanan only cares about himself. So at that point, Rock is hearing all of this. I would be very curious to see how it's going to be pursued later. We do know that she does confront some of them next episode, but I'm kind of curious to see how she's going to handle this, because the problem is the people that has been mentioned, they are known in the streets. So is Rock, but at the same time, can she really take on all of these guys? All of these known guys with their own separate crews? Can she really take on all of them when it comes to Kanan? I don't know. So I'm curious to see how they're going to play this out. So at that point, Marvin takes Lou and takes his drunk ass to Scrappy's mom's house. And she lets him in. All right. And she pretty much ends up getting two. One in the head, definitely. We definitely saw that one. I'm going to assume she's gone, but usually one thing about Power, when someone is gone, they do a major close-up on them, so we see that they are gone. We saw her fall back. We saw the blood, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to assume, though, that she's gone. I'm going to assume it. But my whole thing is this. The reason why I called this Run, Juke, Run is because when you really think about it, Jukebox is the only one that has a conscience right now. She's the only one that truly, in my opinion, is the innocent one out of that whole family. You know what I mean? Like, truly, I think she is the only one. Everybody else is corrupt and crazy as hell to a certain extent. And it's so crazy how we see her when she becomes an adult and what happens to her. But she truly is the one with the moral compass right now. You know what I mean? She's still about looking out for people, her loyalty, her integrity. And the rest of them don't have it. The rest of them are me, fi me. So that's why I said Juke is truly the only one I'm rooting for is Jukebox. And that's insane. I don't care about Kanan. I'm not rooting for him. I'm not rooting for Rock. I am rooting for Lou, Marvin. I am rooting for Jukebox at this point. That's the one that I'm rooting for. So at that point, let me see what you guys are saying. Yes, we do need more. That's what's going to do it. Kanan mess with. Yeah, exactly. He fired it. Yeah, we don't know where it went, though. We did see one hit her, but we didn't see the end. The only thing we saw is when he passed by, when they was driving by, we saw, Scrappy, Scrap actually haunting him again. But We don't necessarily know if she's gone. We don't know that. Crazy, she turned out to be the most rude. Exactly, but she was the most innocent and the one who truly had a heart. Isn't that interesting? She was the one who had a heart, and that's why I said at this point, that's the only one I'm rooting for. She is the only one I'm rooting for. One, and the other one was class outside. Wait, which one are you talking about, Ruby? All of them ended up terrified of her. Exactly. So we definitely, to be quite honest, at this point, I am more curious to see Jukebox transition and her character development than anyone else on the show. And this is about raising Kanan, but I'm curious about Jukebox. That's why I said I'm rooting for her more than anyone right now. So with that being said, one, so we literally have Scraps' mom, who apparently is gone at this point. So Howard, all of this stuff is going to have to come back to Howard eventually, because there's too many people that have spoke to him or are affiliated with him in some kind of way that have gone. You have the crackhead, you have Burke, and now you have Scraps' mom. So that's why I feel like he's keeping Marvin's situation in his back pocket. But if you notice, it's too many people that have talked to him or have mentioned him in some kind of way, and now they are gone. People are going to start putting two to two together. Then also the next episode, of course, we see that the guy who's supplying Rock with, the H, we see that he tells her, you got competition and you need to take care of it, which again, like I said, her son is going to be her competition. And at that point, it's the writing on the wall. I'm curious to see how the writers are actually going to play this, because it could be very good tension, but at the same time, I feel like the way they're playing it, everyone is not going to make it out. Everyone's not going to make it out. To have Ronnie and Juliana, who both hate Rock, they hate her. And honestly, Pops and Snaps don't seem like they really like her either. So she literally may have all the queens at one point going against her. And can her and Marvin really handle that on their own? Because at this point, Lou is gone. He is a pissy drunk. He gone. So he ain't gonna be able to help in a situation. So it just makes you wonder who is really gonna survive. And if I had my guess, if they're going to play this out anyway, based on what we know about 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson's life growing up, if this is playing out in any way based on his real life, in the end, Rock is not going to make it, because remember, 50 Cent's mom didn't make it, and 50 Cent's mom was apparently a hustler in the streets, allegedly. So if that's the case, eventually we may see Rock is not going to survive. She's not, if they're going to play it that way. But with that being said, I would love to see your thoughts for those who come in, and they definitely want to leave their comments below. Let me see. Me too. I'm literally only following Juke's show and to see what exactly, because to me, she has so many dimensions. Like, she has a heart, but at the same time, she's not a punk. But at the same time, she has a moral compass. And while Lou has a moral compass, Lou's moral compass has made him into a complete drunk because he's guilty about everything. Like, not Rock, but Jukebox is still in her right mind, but she's not scared of people either. So that's what I love about her. Like, because we've seen how she ended up in the first Power, man, her story, hopefully, if they write it well, is going to be dynamic. It's going to be a story. She may be one of the best characters out of this bad boy if they do it right. If they do it right. Scrappy was scared. What scared me out the window, yes. Scrappy definitely, he looked crazy as hell. The picture that they take the last episode, it was a real picture of real life gangsters. No, I had that in my video. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, I said that. Especially the guy that had that sailor hat. There was a guy back in the day who ran Queens by the name of Fat Cat, and there was an actual picture, and I showed it in my actual video, of Fat Cat wearing that same type of hat. So they were actually paying, tribute to those guys in Queens. And apparently Pops, I think his name is Pops or Snaps. One of those or both of those names is dedicated to allegedly some other guys in Queens that were actual they were BRs, B arbors, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I could say that and not get dinged, but yeah, they actually were, because that's one thing that she said. She was like, oh, those guys who be robbing, you know what, robbing bees. Yeah, so they actually were real guys who were doing that at one point, and then they ended up getting out of prison and started on the H and started doing that stuff allegedly. So that's going around too. So yeah, so definitely you can tell that 50 Cent has his hands in this. I don't know if a lot of people in that writer's room are from South Jamaica, but we damn sure know that he is. So I am sure that he's making sure that he puts his little, blueprint on this, because of course he knew all the big time hustles and stuff when he was growing up. So many factors could have been her breaking point already, and she's still trying. So I'm really eager to see what see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what's making it interesting. That's why I said run, Juke, run. She, to me, is that character that I think a lot of people are like really intrigued about. I'm over like Kanan at this point. I'm just like, you a piece of shit. Like, I'm not even rooting for you at this point. I'm not even interested in you at this point, because you literally had the last episode where these guys that you don't even know talking about some F yo mama, and you just sit up there like a lump of lard, like they didn't sit up there and just disrespect your mama. So that's why I'm like, what else is there to say? And granted, yes, his mother has lied to him. His mother has done some shady stuff, but we all know a lot of times you have people who got some shady mamas, but you still not going to be able to talk about their mama in that way, especially when they don't even know you. So the fact that he just let that slide, but then you sitting up there so mad at Famous, like it's not making sense. I got it. And the OG Power, Kanan mentioned she chose someone over him. So I wonder who that person was. His mom? Child, her? Because we all know Rock itself. And when you really think about it, Kanan is his mother's child. Kanan operates like his mother. He is me, fi me at the end of the day. And it was at one point he was about protecting his mom, but you know what I mean? Like, he ended up being all about himself. So he ended up being like his mom. And he also said in the OG Power that he was about to go visit his mom. So a lot of people was like, well, the mom has to be alive. That doesn't necessarily mean that he could go visit her at her grave. So, we'll have to definitely see. But crazy how he just got into it with Juke. But you check Ronnie for disrespecting her, right? But but at the end of the day, though, see, this is the thing. Even though we haven't seen the most vicious part of Juke yet, he ain't trying to cross Juke like that, because I think Juke knows all of his secrets. And how weak he truly is and how much of a baby he really is. So it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Either one or the other, Ruby. One or the other. It's one or the other. So yeah. So with that being said, you guys, that's my take on this episode. Like I said, I give it a C plus, and I think it's because I feel like the first two seasons I had multiple people that I was rooting for. I was rooting for Lou to get the hell out, of the game, so he could really pursue the music career like so many people were trying to do or did back in those days. I was rooting for Juke. I was rooting for Kanan last season. But it's like now I'm really only rooting for Juke, because I'm over Lou at this point. He always got a bottle in his hand. Marvin is turning to a straight simp, having this big heart, but you still need to keep your distance. Like, you are totally forgetting what you do for a living. Now, it to me, it would have played better if we saw him actually trying to go legit at the same time. You know what I mean? If we actually saw him go legit at the same time, Marvin, but the fact that he has this big heart, it's almost like he's forgetting that he's still a hustler in the streets. And I'm like, how can you forget that when you've been in the game for so long? Hell, your whole family been in the game for so long. So that's why I'm saying these rookie mistakes is kind of turning me off. Remember, Juke gave him the scar on his face. Yeah, Juke ain't no joke. Juke is the oldest, and she definitely been the one. And remember, the first season, Kanan was getting beat up, and he ran home, and Juke was like, don't run. Juke has always been about that life. I never saw it for Kanan. Yes, I know. You hate his accent and all of that stuff. I know. But on a character development, to me, the shift of him being loyal and being about family, and then of course it shifted with a little bit of the family, but still being about his friends, to just all of a sudden just wanting to be this big, big guy in the streets. And I just felt like the shift happened too fast to where it wasn't believable, in my opinion. Like, I could understand if the catalyst or the main part was when Famous didn't tell him about that hammer being in his bag and what that could have done for him. I could see how that would have been the turning point. But the turning point was already happening. And it was already happening for a guy, Kanan, who said himself that Famous is not about this life. That was D-Wiz. Famous is not about this. He's about the music. He's about clowning. So if you know this, you already knew what you was dealing with when it came to that brother. He was definitely not about to be about this life, but then you're mad that he isn't willing to. So that's where I'm like, it's not believable to a certain extent. Let me see. Never my grown Kanan alone. Wait, are you saying you like Kanan as grown? I don't know what you're saying, but yeah. So that's my take on it. Like, I do feel like the writing was definitely better in season 1 and 2. You already know a lot of times when my favorite shows, the writing goes down, I blame the strike, because there was a writer strike and an actor strike. So maybe the strikes is the reason for it. I'm hoping though these last 3 episodes are gonna be good. We already know typically, episode 10 gives us the hook for the next season. Let me see. Oh, you saying the old? See, that's the thing. Y'all be looking at Kanan like he is. I mean, I know 50 plays him, but Kanan as a character, the development, what they're doing right now for this season is just, it's not believable. And maybe that's what they're going for, because he's really just trying to play gangster right now. And he's going to have to realize that he can't play it. He has to be it. So maybe that's the play that they're trying, is that he's doing all of this stuff, trying to make it seem like he's tough, but he's going to really have to get into situations where he realizes he's not that tough and he has no choice but to be tougher and really be about that life. So maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're going for. But with that being said, you guys, I appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button when you are listening. Like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see what happens in the next episode. But I will see you on my next video. Love ya. Toodles.